John LeClair cutting. Almost. Ray Ferraro the other way. This is a 3-on-3 for the Islanders. Drops it for King. Shot saved by Waugh. Rebound comes back to King with 14 to go in the period. He can't control. Krug takes it to center. Kasparaitis. Kasparaitis, who has been rushing in the playoffs, brought it in, but Volek is still in the zone. Our Dodge Intermission report coming up at the conclusion of this period. Only 8 seconds away. John Saunders will be joining us. Playoff update and a look at the Islander-Penguin series and the huge upset that it was for the Islanders.
And you had to think that the Islanders' task would be preparing mentally with only a day off coming into this series, and they've looked a little sluggish in the first period. So Benoit Hogue took a penalty a few minutes ago. You might want to cut him a little slack because he's got so much family here, and you never want to be shown up in one of those physical confrontations, so I suspect that's why he retaliated. 17 tickets for Hogue for today's game. He led the Islanders. I asked him if they were COD, and he said, well, for the third cousins, they're COD. The real family, I paid for them.
And that's going to do it here in the first period of the Forum in Montreal. The shots end up 13-6 in favor of the Canadiens, who certainly showed no rust in this period. We'll be back with our Dodge Intermission report. John Saunders will join us after this word from our ABC stations. Canadiens up 1-0.
Tonight on Day One, you think America's got a problem with drugs? Russia's picking up our bad habits. Pot, opium, they're growing their own.
Forget Bolivia. I'm afraid we can become a junkie country.
Could they soon be sending it here? Sheila McVicker investigates. Forrest Sawyer. Day One tonight.
If you're going to hunt fish, I say, what better place than a lake named Lure, to which we unveiled some lethal weapons. Andy's, a Popeil's pocket fisherman. Can it get any better than this, I say? Of course, that was before a 10-pound bass sniffing the old mill found Andy's net. But it doesn't matter who caught the biggest fish, as long as you end the day with an old Milwaukee. It doesn't get any better than this.
For a chance to win a $10,000 shopping spree at Bass Pro Shops, check out an old Milwaukee display.
Look at all these pictures of the pens.
I've got them in color in the Pittsburgh Tribune Review.
The pens in color? I haven't seen that in the PG.
And in the special 4-page Stanley Cup preview, the Pittsburgh Tribune Review carried this illustrated guide to the game.
Holy Toledo, I didn't get that in the PG.
And the TR has the best sports writers around, such as Tom McMillan, Mike Todorich, Steve Samsel, and Dave Ailes.
And you don't get them in the PG.
You get colorful coverage only in the Pittsburgh Tribune Review.
Can I borrow your trib?
Joe DiNardo is probably Pittsburgh's most dependable weather forecaster.
Dedicated, determined, dependable. DiNardo. WTAE 4 News.
I depend on Joe DiNardo every day. I really like him.
Greatest weatherman in Pittsburgh.
Who's going to win? Stick with WTAE 4 News Election Night for live reports, fast results, extended election coverage. Join Don and Sally at 5 and throughout the night. Tuesday night, watch WTAE 4 News Primary 93. Don Cannon, Sally Wiggin, weekdays at 5.
The Dodge Intermission Report is presented by the new Dodge, a division of the Chrysler Corporation.
Welcome back once again inside the Montreal Forum. I'm John Saunders. Montreal with a 1-0 lead. That's in the Wales. The Campbell starts tomorrow. Let's get a preview. They came into the second round of the playoffs as catalysts of their respective teams, but only 2 would survive to meet in the Campbell Conference Final. And indeed, one of those teams who advanced was Wayne Gretzky's Los Angeles Kings. However, it was one of the foot soldiers that put LA in position to wrap up the Smythe Final against Vancouver. In Game 5, little-known Gary Shuchuk wound up providing second overtime heroics to give the Kings a 3-2 series lead. With a chance to wrap up the series Thursday, Shuchuk once again was in the middle of the act, pounding Vancouver's Dana Merzen into the boards and instigating the Vancouver defender into taking a pair of unnecessary penalties. That enabled the Kings to overcome a late second period deficit as Jari Kurri and Tomas Sandstrom netted power play goals to put the Kings ahead. Then Gretzky's marvelous setup eventually became Warren Reichel's goal and provided needed insurance. Kelly Rudy held the fort from there, frustrating the Canucks and their star scorer Pavel Bure, while the Great One provided the clincher, sending the surprising Kings to their first semifinal in 24 years. A very different plateau for a player accustomed to success in his days in Edmonton.
really hard to compare because all those times I went so far and won championships in Edmonton, we were supposed to. So every time we won, believe me, everybody just said, oh, good game, good series, see you next week, sort of thing. And in this instance, you know, we were nobody. We were underdogs.
And they'll be underdogs again when they open the Campbell final against Toronto. St. Louis did provide a scare, however, as Brett Hull turned from scorer into playmaker, setting up Dave Lowry to tie Game 6. He also had a hand in the winner as Nelson Emerson's point shot was deflected in off Jeff Brown. From there, it was Curtis Joseph providing a heroic 40-save effort to set the scene for a final game. But the Blues' dream would end suddenly last night as Wendell Clark keyed a 4-goal first period. And Doug Gilmour gave an MVP performance with a goal and 2 assists as hope continues to reign with the Maple Leafs among hockey's Final Four. The Kings and the Leafs get underway tomorrow. That one from Maple Leaf Guards. Now, while we have the time, we want to bring you up to date on an incident that happened during yesterday's run of the Preakness on ABC, won by Prairie Bayou. The incident was surprising because in the backstretch, Union City, ridden by Patrick Valenzuela, suffered a severe fracture of his front right ankle. Trained by D. Wayne Lucas and owned by Overbrook Farm. When we went off the air, the indications were the horse would be okay, but Union City had to be put down 40 minutes after being removed from the racetrack. First time it had happened in a Triple Crown race in 34 years.
Well, I think he just took a misstep, but he broke both sesamoids and just went down, and it was just hopeless. So we're all saddened by it, but it's just part of the game, and thank goodness Pat wasn't hurt. That's the important thing.
Magic Moments, presented by Dodge. Mike Bossy was an Islanders idol for 10 stellar seasons and a key to their rise to NHL prominence. His finest moment may have come in the 1982 Stanley Cup playoffs when he scored 17 goals in 19 playoff games. The sensational scores led the New York Islanders to their 4th straight Cup title in one of Mike Bossy's many magic moments.
A mid-sized Dodge Dakota with an optional 230 horsepower Magnum V8 outpowers, outhauls, and just plain outpulls even full-size 5-liter V8s from Ford and Chevy. Unquote. Dodge, the most powerful line of trucks anywhere.
Get $500 cash back on new Dodge Dakotas.
To soar with eagles, be the best. To win the industry's highest awards for quality, commit to excellence. Provide superior quality products and have the strength to offer them at more than 12,500 locations nationwide. More than any other major brand. Discover for yourself the difference quality can make. Fly with the new Superpower.
Of the original.
Welcome back for more of the Dodge Intermission Report. I'm John Saunders. New York Islanders down 1-0, but that doesn't mean much to them. As they showed against the Pittsburgh Penguins, down means far from out. When Pierre Turgeon scored against the Washington Capitals April 28th, it culminated a mild opening round upset as the Isles buried the higher-seeded Cats. But when Dale Hunter proceeded to take out New York's biggest star, the shoulder injury that resulted appeared to signal playoff burial for the Islanders as well. But surprise, not only did the Islanders show up against the supposedly invincible Pittsburgh Penguins, but they got the quick jump as well. Ray Ferraro scored one of 2 Islanders shorthanded goals in a 3-1 win and served notice the Patrick final might not be such a cakewalk for the 2-time defending champs. After dropping the next 2 games, Derek King broke a 5-5 third-period tie in Game 4, once again raising eyebrows around the hockey world. The believers were temporarily silenced as an early Penguin explosion proved decisive in Game 5. But once more, Islander fortitude surfaced. Brian Mullen put New York ahead for good in Game 6, and suddenly the team with everything stacked against them was stacking up for one final showdown. But in one game, one player can make the difference between victory and defeat. And Friday night, Glenn Healy's goaltending kept the Islanders in a contest they had no business being in.
It's fine to be in Game 7, and everybody was saying, hey, you know, the Islanders have stretched this out to 7 games, and whether they win or not, it doesn't matter. Their season's been a success. Well, when you get that far, you want to go the next step. We were looking at it as that if we can get by the Penguins, in all honesty, the cup is up for grabs.
Healy held the Islanders even for 2 periods and was finally rewarded when little-used David Volek put New York ahead, creating a sense the impossible might come true. And that's exactly what took place. Despite allowing Pittsburgh 2 late goals to tie the match, despite all the odds stacked against them, once more, here was Volek, again delivering an overtime shot that signaled the upset was complete.
I wasn't really sure if the puck went in the net or it kind of hit the side. It happened so quick that when I realized it, that, you know, it's for a moment, I think my heart stopped there.
Something special in your stomach, inside. I can't believe it happened, you know. It's like a dream.
And will the dream continue for the New York Islanders? They have some work left.
Gary Thorne, Bill Clement back here with you. A lot of great stars have come through that door both ways. They still do. Patrick Waugh leading the club back out on the ice here with the Canadiens leading it after 1-0. Islanders 2 shots in the last 16 minutes of that first period.
I really think that the New York Islanders had trouble controlling the mobility of the Montreal defenseman. On this play, you'll see the Canadiens just dump it out, but who jumps up on the play to take the pass from Domfus? A defenseman, number 48, J.J. Daigneault. Now, when he gets to center, who jumps up on the play for the Islanders to try to face him, or he pinches up in the neutral zone? Kasparaitis, and he missed him. Darius Kasparaitis is going to have to pick his spots because he is dealing with a defense in Montreal that has terrific mobility. The only goal of the first period, the assist from Denis Savard in behind, and you can see Kasparaitis was reluctant to pinch in behind with Kasparaitis on one side and Krupp, number 4, on the other side. Gilbert Dion got in behind both of them.
That is the only goal we've had. Dion at 10-18 from Savard and Haller. It was an even strength goal. There is Dion, the younger brother of Marcel Dion. Ironically for Marcel Dion, he didn't get a lot of playoff games in his career, only 49. Gilbert's already got half that number at that tender young age of 22.
And I have asked up and down the booth, even the French announcers that are here, how many kids were there in the Dion family? Nobody has a specific answer. I've gotten between 10 and 12, just to let everybody know that Marcel wasn't the first and Gilbert wasn't the only one after that.
We know what you're saying. Cleared back to the line. It'll be chased down by Pilon. Pilon and Kasparaitis were even strength starting the second period. The Islanders clearly have got to try and step the pace up here in order to stay with the skating of the Canadiens. That time they bring it in offside. Just underway period number 2.
You know, Al Arbour started to prep his players for the playoffs by saying, don't be satisfied even with the win, because a lot of people told the New York Islanders when they won even one game against the Pittsburgh Penguins, you guys have done well so far. Al Arbour said to them all along, do not be satisfied with that. We can do better than that. His guys started to believe it, and I've never seen a man as proud of his team after that win in Pittsburgh the other night as Al Arbour. Almost like a dad that has just had a young child. I mean, it's just a terrifically proud man and really praised his athletes. No mention of himself, just the guys and how hard they worked.
They knew they weren't supposed to do it. I mean, you give it the athletes line and go, we're here to play and we're going to win. But deep in your heart, when they took on Pittsburgh, there's no way they thought they were going to come away with a victory in that, at least in Game 1. As it progressed in that series, they started to believe. King almost. King center tip. Delgarno wide of the net, tied up by Brunet. And Waugh Hogue trying to get his stick out of the pile there. Finally did. Tied up Desjardins. Hogue trying to run it in on Waugh. Covering up right at the post. Puck is loose there. Still loose behind the net. Desjardins knocked away by Hogue. Great scoring chance right there. Haller able to clear it out of the zone. 3-on-2 break for the Canadiens. Muller leads it by Brunet. Back for Bellows. Bellows shot. Save and no rebound. Healy hangs on. How about these two guys in net?
Well, we've got two different stories, don't we? Not only in the first period, but in achievement. Patrick Waugh has all kinds of major trophies in his past, and Glenn Healy has just been a busy guy lately. No major awards.
Does he care? Not a whole lot. So long as he's here and playing, it's all that matters. For Patrick Waugh, he will try and move up again here on that list as far as all-time goaltender wins are concerned. He is tied right now with Andy Moog. They are 5th best. Billy Smith, the former Islander, more playoff wins as a goaltender than anyone ever at 88. And Waugh, his career, barring injury, is going to have a shot at that ladies Canadiens play. J.J. Daniel back to get it. Sent it in. Healy behind the net, holding it up. Pilon going to the corner court. Pilon puts the big boom on Vincent Damphousse. Damphousse had 4 shots on goal in that first period to lead all shooters on either team. David Volek at center. Lost it. Mullen going in. A whistle. That's going to be brought back on the offside.
No, Glenn Healy doesn't mind that label of underdog or that label of no respect. Glenn Healy became a goaltender at age 5, but Patrick Waugh is the guy with all of the awards. NHL All-Rookie Team his first year, 3-time first All-Star, a long list, 3 times Vezina, 4-time Jennings winner for the lowest goals against average by a team. Check all of the awards. And then there's Glenn Healy at the other end. Barney the Dinosaur, no awards. One of the 3 lowest paid starting goalies in the NHL and a free agent without comp in 1 month.
Well, he wins a couple more games. That comp will drastically increase. Mullen clears it out to center. Ferraro lost it on the pass. Keane nailed, still has the puck. He got squeezed by Volek and Kasparaitis and still controlled the puck. Brisebois through center. Mullen intercepts. Volek coming in. Volek winding up. That's where he scored that game winner from in Game 7. Ferraro's shot was partially blocked. Played behind the net. Canadiens. Brisebois. Brisebois got it out. Guy Carbonneau. Carbonneau rushing in with Keane and Brisebois. Volek blocked it. Lost it. Brisebois moving again. Good puck control right there. Vincent Damphousse far side hit by Volek. Lets it go to the point. Shot was wide that time of Glenn Healy by Daniel. Rebounds all the way back into the Canadiens' end. Brisebois over to get it. During the regular season, Canadiens ended up 9th in offense and 7th as a team in defense. Patrick Waugh, did you see that?
Well, I think he thought he had it squeezed off, Gary, but it was over his head. It came very close to squeezing in the short side. At first, I thought he was trying to squeeze it off, and then I thought he was shaken up, and I think the latter is more accurate. I think he's shaken up. He took it on the short side high, right off his right shoulder.
He just stood there and didn't move while the puck went up in the air.
No, Brian Mullen launched a rocket. I mean, it was a flipper, but he caught it all. Right there, either Patrick Waugh is hurt or he thinks he has got it. Even if he is hurt, though, you'd think he'd be looking around for the puck.
I think he got hurt on that one. Brian Mullen got all of that, caught him on that shoulder unprotected.
Brian Mullen talked today about the sigh of relief that he breathed after David Volek scored the winner in overtime, because when the score was 3-1, if you remember Game 7 in Pittsburgh, Brian Mullen missed on a breakaway that could have made it 4-1 for the New York Islanders. Of course, I thanked him for keeping it interesting for us. He said, listen, I wasn't trying.
Certainly wasn't. Uwe Krups got it at the blue line. Back for Junker. The rookie brings it in. Hogue trailing Benoit Hogue. Hogue goes to the corner. Thomas at the side of the net, but survived. Reached in and took it away. DiPietro. DiPietro drops a 3-on-2 break. Back for DiPietro, but Junker reaches in, pulled the puck away. Uwe Krups got it. Dion along the boards. Dion reaching for it. Can't. Krups stood in, knocked it away. That bounces off the Islander bench, stopping the clock. Canadiens waiting. 1-0, second period. So on the New York Islanders thus far at 14-7, leading 1-0 on Dion's goal in that first period. Faceoff stays in the Islander end. Guy Carbonneau and Ray Ferraro. Carbonneau Out there with Ronan, who he won the draw to, and then Carboneau sends it in. Glenn Healy holds it up. Malakoff back to get it for Pollock. Pollock pushes it up. Obviously, Pollock with the 2 goals in Game 7 was red hot. He's already had more ice time here in this game than he had in the whole rest of the playoffs.
Did he cement his name into the lineup for at least a few games?
You got it. Healy, he's had a couple of chances in the first period of this game. King, Carboneau, poke checks it away from him. LeClaire chasing it down. John LeClaire, University of Vermont hockey player from Vermont. That's his home state. Got it away to Carboneau. Carboneau back. Desjardins, the shot, score! Tipped in, I believe, by John LeClaire.
Well, terrific work by John LeClaire and a great heads-up play by Desjardins. He takes a peek, and this is not a shot that was intended to get into the net. It just wanted to get at the John LeClaire's stick. A lot of defensemen will just bury their heads. Look at Desjardins, head up, head up. I don't even know if he ever looked down at the puck, but you can see that that shot was going wide. He didn't care. He was aiming for LeClaire's stick. And LeClaire 1 step ahead of the coverage as usual, and that has been the problem for the Islanders. The Canadiens have been a step ahead of them on the coverage. The Islanders have been a step behind in every zone. 2-zip Montreal.
LeClaire's played in all 11 playoff games. That's his first goal of this year's playoffs, second in his career, and 3 points in the playoffs this season. And the Canadiens have taken a 2-0 lead. Beautiful setup at the side of the net.
And LeClaire had said coming into today's game that everything was going nicely for him, except the puck felt like a hand grenade on his stick, and it's like the hot potato syndrome. You end up with the puck in your stick like a hand grenade. You don't want to handle it too long. You pass too quickly. You don't stick handle well. John LeClaire's confidence will probably come flooding back now.
Fitzgerald on the touch-up in the zone for the offside call. Our Budweiser Stanley Cup summary. The last time any of the Final 4 that we have this season made it was 89 Montreal. New faces in. All the first and second place teams eliminated. Talk about parity in the league. Patrick Roy in this game going for 9-0. 9 straight if he can get a win here. Ferraro and Anderchuk leading everybody in playoff goals with 12.
We talked about goal scoring and how Vincent Domfus led the NHL, or led the Canadiens at least, in points. Well, Brian Bellows is another player that was acquired to give the Canadiens more offense, and did he come through for them? He led their team in goal scoring, 40 goals. That is his 4th 40-plus goal year for Brian Bellows. And Serge Savard, the general manager here in Montreal, had all of his moves really pay off this year.
Made some great deals to help this club out. Brunet trying to knock it away to center. There was Bellows going by it as he tried to reach for it. 3:41 of the second. LeClaire's goal from Desjardins and Guy Carboneau, giving the Montreal Canadiens the 2-0 lead. Carboneau leading all players in this particular series of playoff games. His 145th in his career. Dennis Savard, second for the Canadiens at 132 playoff games. Bellows pushes that one ahead. Delgado trying to get it out, could not. Dangerous play as Benoit Brunet stepped in. Malakoff knocked him down. Muller gets the puck. Kurt Muller backs it up. Brunet looking for Muller in front of the net. Malakoff intercepted the pass. Audline on the near side. Muller tried to drop it in. Benoit Hogue tied him up. Hogue has the puck. Muller comes back to help. He gets squeezed hard by Junker and taken down, and the puck is underneath them. Now Audline and Benoit Hogue get the sticks up. They are separated immediately. Let's check in. Al Morganti.
Well, Gary and Bill, one of the more impressive aspects of this Islanders team through 2 rounds is how cool and calm they were. No butterflies. I talked to Bob Nystrom, a member of that Dynasty Islander team, before the game, and he said that could change today. Although the players don't like to admit it, the Montreal form can intimidate you. And he thought that if they did get behind, the way to get out of it would be to hit their way out of it. And then he brought in the name of Kasparaitis. Gary?
Talk about hitting in the Islanders. Why not bring in the name of Kasparaitis?
It's harder to do that, though, for Darius Kasparaitis against Montreal. They've got better mobility than the Pittsburgh Penguins, especially on defense. So Kasparaitis is really going to have to be careful and not get caught out of position. The other thing as well, though, is that I really think that the Islanders, to a degree, would welcome the butterflies and try to channel them into positive adrenaline, because the difficulty is adjusting emotionally to having just slain the Dragon coming in here to a new series. There's no hatred yet for the Canadiens.
Nope, and right now they haven't been able to find it. Pilon dumped. Damfus cleared the center. Haller comes back to get it. 14:23 left in this second period. Canadiens are leading 2-0. Talk about the toughness of playing here. The Islanders, in their 21-year history against the Canadiens, are here. They are trailing with only 9 wins, 22-9-6. Canadiens with the advantage here at the Forum against the Islanders. Mike Keane drops a shot deflected into Healy's glove. Didn't get all of that one as Desjardins took it. Get the whistle as Healy will hang on. Canadiens up 2-0.
I mentioned that Glenn Healy started as a goaltender at age 5. And you know what? It wasn't even his choice. His older brother was the goalie on the team, and he moved up to another level. So Glenn Healy's dad was the coach and said, listen, you're our new goalie. And he said, besides, you were a defenseman all year last year and you didn't touch the puck once. So at least this year you're going to get to touch the puck. So Glenn Healy did not grow up as a little tyke wanting to be a goaltender. It was dad that said, you're in, kid.
And he is. 3.67 goals against in the 20 playoff games, the 24 playoff games he's played in his career with that 10-10 mark. Backed in front. Almost Dion. Healy was there to knock it away. Krupp picks it up. Uwe Krupp to center. Sissons has got it. Here's a kid getting a chance as well. We talked about Junker. Sissons the opportunity because of the injuries. Came up for the last game. It's only his second National Hockey League game ever. His first playoff game. Dropped in front. Savard. Savard rushing it in. Dion had it blocked from behind. Good play. New York Islanders, Mick Vukota got the swinging stick on that shot. Now Patrick Waugh is tied up with Vukota. The net has come free. Vukota got just off balance. He really didn't get tripped. He kind of slid in after he fell down coming through the circle on Waugh.
There was a little bit of a skate clash. Not very much, though. I think it was Matt Snyder that just caught his skates with Vukota. Nice takeout, and he is safe.
With Waugh on top.
Luckily for the goaltenders and the forwards now that drive nets, the nets come off very easily. NHL experimented with little magnets. A lot of the rinks didn't maintain the magnets well enough, and the nets really popped off regularly. Of course, the old pegs used to be screwed into the ice, and those nets did not move. When you hit them, your bones broke. Well, now they have kind of a rubberized peg called the Marsh peg. A man in northern British Columbia invented it. He won't let anybody know what the pegs are made of, but it's kind of a rubberized material that gives a little bit when it's hit, and if you hit it hard enough, it'll give way completely.
Hopefully, so you don't get hurt. Off the face-off, Hogan Carbonneau stare each other down as Daigneault comes by them. Daigneault sends it in. Healy going back to get it. Glenn Healy holds it up for Dennis Vaske. A 2-0 lead for the Canadiens in Game 1. 4 teams left in the Stanley Cup playoffs, so one of these will go on to the Stanley Cup Finals. Los Angeles and Toronto, the other series, will be getting underway tomorrow night. Daigneault shot saved by Healy. Good hard shot along the ice. At center, Mullen going back to get it. Pushes it into the zone. Thomas, Mullen, and Hogue for the Islanders. Thomas leaves it for Hogue. Turned by Leclerc. Ellicott cutting in front for the pick. Blocked by Carbonneau. Carbonneau cleared it out to center. And right back in by Vaske. Waugh coming back. Almost lost that, and he had Thomas about 3 steps away. J.J. Daigneault through center. Leclerc. Leclerc sent it in wrong side of the red line, though. This will be icing. No waved off. People aren't able to play it before it crossed the red line. Great tradition of the Canadiens continuing here with this club. Finished 6th overall during the regular season, worked their way through the playoffs in that highly emotionally charged Quebec series. Battle for provincial bragging rights, and they beat a Quebec team that really was favored in that series against the Canadiens. Kasparaitis pinned up, still has it. Kasparaitis dumps it for Ferraro, goes to King to Ferraro. Loved by Waugh before Ferraro could get the tip. 11:53 to go in the second. Canadiens leading.
It's the backyard, the front porch.
Leads at 2-0. The Islanders are going to have to start directing more shots at Patrick Waugh because they just haven't so far. And when you direct shots, that means people have to follow the shots, drive to the net.
That's what the Canadiens have been doing against Healy at the other end. Muller trying to get it out of the zone. Ferraro able to hold it in. Shot saved by Waugh on Volek. Volek has got a hot stick right now, and he shoots. It's on net. It's coming hard. He's getting himself in good position for the shots. Delayed call coming up here. Tommy Kerber's back to get it. It'll be on the Canadiens. Healy wants to head to the bench here. Volek's got the puck. Delayed whistle. King waiting for the extra skater. Kerber's in and brought himself offside. But a penalty on the Canadiens and a power play for the New York Islanders here at the Forum, where a lot of folks stand and watch the game. They open the doors up. There are people lined up and waiting. If they tried to do this in the United States, people would probably be killed. They actually get through this without anyone getting injured. This morning, the standing room only goes all the way around between the lower and upper seats. And on top of the railing, there are numbers. They are actually marked as a seat would be marked. So when you stand, you have a space. It's first come, first served. Most of the guys who get these tickets, they know where they want to be. That's a live shot. Once you get your place, you stay there.
I haven't figured out which is more dangerous, getting in front of the standing room people as they come in or running in front of the Bulls.
It's the same thing. You just don't wave the red.
I'm not talking about the Chicago Bulls.
There you see the power play and what it has not done. The opportunity is going to be the 4th of the game as Haller is out for holding at 8:36. Here's Benoit Hogue. Chance for them to get on the board. Thomas the shot deflected. Gloved into the corner by Brisebois. Bangs it up, not out. Hogue had it. Lost it. Enough to hang it in the zone. Kerbers back to Hogue. Hogue with Thomas. Saved by Waugh. Put wide by Hogue in the rebound. And cleared out of the zone by Damphus.
Patrick Waugh stood his ground. Benoit Hogue looked like he could have cut to his backhand, but there's no question about it. He was trying to shoot that between Patrick Waugh's legs, and Patrick took it away from him.
Ended up with a 2-on-1 as the Canadian defenseman fell down. Canadians short-handed. Again, it's flipped out of the zone, this time by Brisebois. And it'll be set up. Benoit Hogue at his own blue line. During the regular season, the Islanders went 4 for 20 on the power play in 4 games against the Canadiens. Belikov tried to hold it in, couldn't. Short-handed chance. Guy Carbonneau. Benoit Brunet in the middle, short-handed. Saved by Healy. Almost dropped it on the end of the glove. Had to reach down a second time as he bobbled it a bit, but he held on. No short-handed goal.
Glenn Healy in his zone, in a groove. He is picked right up where he left off in overtime on Friday night in Pittsburgh. Guy Carbonneau looked off Benoit Brunet. He had an option to pass, but it was a really good choice to shoot. Glenn Healy is even making the real tough saves look easy.
Canadiens during the regular season scored 8 shorthanded goals, but they gave up 13.
Well, the Islanders are starting to generate a few more scoring opportunities. Here is Hogan. Look to the left. He could have cut in front, but he decided to shoot. Butterfly goalies that go down with their pads to the side, usually leave a spot between the pads and between the legs, and that's where Benoit Hogue was shooting. His knuckle has come along. He started the Pittsburgh series with a knuckle that was cracked from the Washington series. He was still able to play. It hurt him like crazy when he shot. It's on his right hand, so the right hand is at the top of the stick. Not as bad as if it were at the bottom of the stick, but kept Benoit Hogue from taking faceoffs, and he is one of the top Islanders faceoff men. He is back now able to take it, but the knuckle is not completely healed. Still really noticeably swollen.
People still out for the Islanders. Patrick Flatley still with that twisted knee, unable to play, trying to screen. Has the eye contusion in bed. He's not going to be able to play probably in this series. Ferraro got it behind the net. Uwe Krupp. Krupp center. Bollock was out in front. Never got a stick on it. Got knocked down for the effort by Daniel. 37 seconds remaining on the power play for the Islanders. Canadiens lead it 2-0. Shots are 17-10 in favor of Montreal. Uwe Krupp on the dump. They dump and chase on the power play. King on the near side. Ferraro sends it back to Bollock. David Bollock. How hot he is. He's getting work all around. Power play effort here. Comes to the middle. Nice play by Brunet. A whistle away from the play as King got hit and is down in the corner, and a penalty is going to be coming up on the Canadiens. Coming up next on ABC Sports, over $1 million at stake on the Lynx in Dallas. Was the one who got dumped in the corner. Lyle Odeline's going to pick up the penalty.
Gary, we've talked about the lack of size in the Montreal defense, and now they make up for it with mobility. Well, Lyle Odeline isn't one of the little guys. He's only 5'10", but he weighs 206 pounds, and he usually plays like he weighs 206 pounds. But that time he got a cross-check in on Derek King from behind. And now another complication for the Montreal Canadiens. Jacques Demers, Montreal-born. He talked about the rivalry, Gary, between Montreal and Quebec. He said, I thought it was a giant rivalry when I was in Detroit with the Detroit-Toronto rivalry. He said it was nothing like Montreal and Quebec. And about the pressure of coaching in Montreal, this team started with a win, a loss, and 3 ties at the beginning of the season. And Jacques Demers was asked if he thought his job was on the line by a reporter.
This is a 2-man advantage. Hit Waugh in the face. Rebound comes back to the point. That was Melikov who shot that cannon and caught Waugh right in the mask. 2 seconds on the two-man advantage. Thomas with Ferraro. Taken away. Brisebois trying to clear. Haller, who just came out of the box, is waiting at center. So now the power play continues for the Islanders. They had a brief two-man advantage. They still have a minute 40 on the power play.
That is the second shot that has hit Patrick Roy up high. And it came out of a cannon. The top shooter, even though he wasn't clocked during the All-Star break as the top shooter, Uwe Krupp was, but Vladimir Malakoff. Players around the league will tell you that they're more afraid of his shot than they are Uwe Krupp.
Getting the cobwebs out after he took that shot and readjusting the helmet. A shake of the head. There's Malakoff who had that big blast. 3 goals, 5 assists thus far in the playoffs. Power play still underway. Great chance for the Islanders here. 5-on-4 power play advantage. Kerber's shot blocked out deep. Carbonneau clears the zone. Malakoff going back to get it. Kerbers will stay working one of the points here. They've got Hogue, Delgarno, and Thomas on this unit for the Islanders. Brad Delgarno by Hogue and dumps it in. Minute 18 on the advantage. Thomas over to get it. Steve Thomas pinned up and a penalty coming up. And Delgarno gets the sticks up with Guy Carbonneau. Whoops. Thomas reached around and the glove in the face on Carbonneau.
I don't know who the original penalty was on, but you have to know that Gregson has added to it since the original call. Steve Thomas is arguing with him all the way to the box, but I think it was originally just a single call, Gary.
Well, we'll straighten it out when we come back.
How do you order Miller Genuine Draft Light? The cold filtered light with smooth draft taste during the big game? Say MGD Light and say no more.
Baby Ruth looks funky, but Baby Ruth tastes fine. And if it didn't look so funky, it wouldn't taste so fine. Baby Ruth, if it didn't look so funky, it wouldn't taste so fine. Baby Ruth, Baby Ruth. No!
My daughter, she's going to college. She needs a car. So we talked. She wanted this, she wanted that, she wanted ABS brakes. She's a very bright girl. So she looked, and she found a new Subaru Impreza. Well, I can't talk to her about a car, because I'm usually the cynic. But this Impreza left me speechless. So now I say things like, aren't you glad I told you about the new Impreza? And she says, Dad, you're employing revisionist history. Like I said, she's a very bright girl.
Well, the Islanders now have dug themselves a hole because Steve Thomas has taken a double minor. First of all, this penalty along the boards when he got his stick up on Eric Desjardins. But we talk about discipline, discipline, and more discipline. Right after that, it was a face mush to Guy Carbonneau and another penalty that was added to it. So 4 minutes to Steve Thomas. About a minute now to go on the penalty to own line. So the Canadiens will end up with a 3-minute power play.
High sticking and roughing called on Thomas. 57 seconds left on the Canadiens penalty. Played behind the net, Kasparaitis. 4-on-4 for the moment here anyway. Kasparaitis brings it up. Pilon and Ferraro with him. Hooked away by Haller. He gets it back. Kasparaitis more and more joining the offensive play. A defenseman for the New York Islanders. Here comes Damphus. Damphus has Pilon back. Damphus trying to get a pick. Looking. DiPietro didn't get the shot off. Bollick was there and takes it away. 30 seconds on the Canadiens penalty, then they go on the power play. Ray Ferraro brings it in. Ferraro centering for Bollick again. Boy, the ice time he's piling up. Shot wide by Baskey. Played by Ferraro on the far side. 17 left on the Canadiens penalty. Held in the zone. Bollick lost it. Spinning around. Desjardins, and they will start it up ice here. Try and control for the power play they'll have in 7 seconds. Kurt Muller. Uwe Krupp takes him out of the play. Muller pinned up against the board. Baskey has it. Power play right now. 2 minutes and 46 seconds worth of power play for the Canadiens. But Fitzgerald brings it up ice. Benoit Hogue was in the zone on the near side, offside Islanders. Mr. Scrap. Kurt Muller played with the New Jersey Devils before coming over to the Montreal Canadiens, and he's back in his home territory and just loves playing here at the Forum.
For a while, he kind of had to play in the shadow of Mario Lemieux since Kurt Muller was the #2 player chosen the year Mario Lemieux went #1 to the Pittsburgh Penguins. But a new beginning here in Montreal. 37 goals and 57 assists for 94 points in the regular season. He is an intelligent player. He is a hardworking player. And does he have guts? his face has been able to heal. We don't know the war that the Montreal Canadiens had, not only with Buffalo, but before that, the Quebec Nordiques, because most of the black and blue marks on the stitches have been removed.
Kurt Muller had his collarbone frozen for all but the last 2 games the Canadiens have played in the playoffs because of an injury he suffered. The upper chest really just frozen. That's the way he's played the games. Not anymore. That ends up off the Canadiens bench. 2:24 left to go on the double minor to Thomas. So the extended power play here for the Montreal Canadiens, who are already leading 2-0, gives them a chance to jump.
The other guy that has had to play hurt is Brian Bellows. He came back for the last 2 games in the Buffalo series after a fractured rib, and there are so few ways to protect a rib cage in hockey, because you're constantly getting hit. Quarterbacks can get away with it by getting rid of the ball, but you can see Brian Bellows, the flak jacket that he wears underneath is actually kind of bulked up his body, and the rib problem is on the right side. It's noticeably sticking out on the right side, just below and to the right of the 3 and his number 23. I think he's got a board in there.
He's found life here, a player who a number of teams had simply given up on, didn't think he was ever going to produce again, but he has done that here for the Canadiens. They were discussing where to put the face-off. That was the delay. Bellows, an 88-point season, 3rd leading scorer for Montreal this past year. Right now, it's the New York Islanders, shorthanded, taking advantage of the chances. Mullen brings it in. Mullen behind the net. Mullen pinned up, tried to center, couldn't. Dion's got it. Gilbert Dion, who had the first goal in the first period. Leclerc has the Canadian second goal in the second. Uwe Krupp sends it out of the zone. Outstanding penalty killing going on right now by the New York Islanders. Kurt Muller back out on the ice. Muller drops it off. Having trouble getting in the zone. Desjardins, Muller, Fitzgerald, Uwe Krupp all over there. Muller brings it in. Dion racing to the corner. Fitzgerald beats him there. Plays back to Haller at center. A minute 33 left on the Canadiens power play. Haller into the zone. Healy moves. Baskey there. Wraparound blocked by Dion. Gilbert Dion taken out of the play by Krupp. Play by Benoit Hogue to get it up to Krupp. Uwe Krupp shorthanded.
You know, Gary, the one thing the Canadiens don't have in their power play is a go-to guy coming up the ice as a quarterback. Phase 1 of any power play is penetration of the offensive zone, and then you want to get it set up. The Canadiens don't have a go-to guy for their setup. They're in now. Mike Keane has it, but they don't have a regular guy that they give it to.
In the zone, centering pass. Danfus can't believe Healy got it. Danfus, great chance as he came left to right on Glenn Healy. Power play, 49 seconds left on it for the Canadiens. Matthew Schneider winds up, had it blocked out deep by Delgado. Center, Danfus off the side of the net as Healy pokes it away with a stick. Mike Keane spinning. Danfus stays in the high slot, intercepted Kasparaitis. His attempted clear. Schneider able to hold it in the zone. 30 on the power play. Danfus in front, couldn't get it to him. Keane shot blocked by Delgado and covered up by Healy, but good puck movement for the Canadiens on the power play.
Yeah, once they set up, their puck movement is excellent, and teams know that. All the scouting reports read the same way. Mike Keane is one of their dynamo workers. He is not a real high-level skill guy, but you need people to go and get the puck back in the power play. Stéphane Lebeau, number 47, dumped it in front. Glenn Healy just about had it get by him. I think it bounced off of Darius Kasparaitis in front of him.
They still have 26 seconds on this extended power play. Glenn Healy's going to take a little break here while he can to slow the action down. His Islanders during this playoff season, 3 wins, 4 losses on the road. They've been outscored on the road 20-27 by the teams in the playoffs this season, and they're trailing here 2-0. 5:19 left to go in a well-paced second period. Loisel moves in for the faceoff against DiPietro. Loisel being talked to by the linesman about getting the stick down here. Visiting team players, got to get it down first. Loisel had to and lost the draw to DiPietro. Haller holds it in. Shot! Score! Goes! Taking the shot, deflected in front, maybe, but it's 3-0 Canadiens.
With that quick puck movement we talked about, the Islanders just couldn't get set. Never got into their penalty killing formation, and there was a crowd in front of Glenn Healy, but Brian Bellows really pulled the trigger quickly, standing at the top of the circle out to Glenn Healy's right. And he can let her rip on his off wing from that faceoff dot with the best of them. I don't even know if Glenn Healy saw that one, Gary, before it was behind him.
There were a lot of people in the crease with him, and he may not have. And the Canadiens have taken a 3-0 lead at 14:45. We'll credit Bellows with a goal for the moment. See whether or not anybody else may have touched that in front. Malakoff takes it in behind the net. So the Canadiens, 7 days rest has not hurt this team. Played back, Malakoff. Islanders have got to find a way now to get it by first the defense and then by Wild. Glenn Healy way out. Roman blocked it. Empty net. And Roman can't get it there. Baskey blocked the pass. Healy gets back in the net. Healy gets on all the way over on the boards that time in a race for the puck. Malakoff dropping it. Leclaire intercepts. Leclaire and Ronan can't get it on the touch. Brunet is credited with that goal. Benoit Brunet, they say, tipped it in at 14:45. Bellows and Haller get the assist on it. Goal number 3 for Montreal. Brisebois back to get it. Up the boards, we're even strength now, as that was a power play goal for the Canadiens. J.J. Daniel brings it in, takes the shot. Off a Canadien, deflected side of the net by Healy as Guy Carbonneau found the rebound. Uwe Krupp starts it up ice, King with him. Krupp sends it in wide, Patrick Roy back to get it. Oderline will turn in the corner, 4:04 to go here in the second period. Right now, it's a Canadiens game. Shots are 20-11 in favor of Montreal. Thomas some room. Thomas with Hope cutting. Had it blocked as he took the shot. Daniel got a piece of it. Far side chase down. Daniel over. Hope was there with him. Held in by the Islanders. Steve Thomas. Thomas's shot wide. Just didn't get that one on net. Gilbert Dion on the far side. One of the goal scorers this afternoon for Montreal. Tommy Kervers back with it. Oderline. This is a very tough team to try and come from behind on the Canadiens. They don't make a lot of defensive mistakes ever, but especially when they've got a lead. Oderline has it back for Savard. Savard coming 3-on-2. Savard with DiPietro. Savard. DiPietro tip save by Healy. DiPietro got a stick on that midair.
So important, cleanly won. Then Desjardins to Haller right over to Brian Bellows, and his shot was tipped on the way to the net, but you can see the 2 Canadiens got there before the Islanders had a chance to shape up their penalty killing. But the New York Islanders have been in these situations before. This is a junkyard dog kind of team. You think they're put away, and they surprise you game after game.
Claude Loisel gets it into Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald centering. Again, they missed it, and Delgarno went into the net hard. He is all right. Put the right knee against one of the posts, but it moved up off that Marsh peg, and he was not injured as a result. A 3-0 lead, Canadiens. Al Morganti.
Gary and Bill, the Canadiens wear on their sweaters one of the most famous logos in sports, but it's also one of the most misunderstood. The CH. The H doesn't stand for Habitants like most people think. It means Club de Hockey Canadien. Habitants is a local term like the old town teams. Habitant's a person that's been around, who grew up in the province and stayed here. Unlike our own Bill Clement, who left and won the cup for Philadelphia. Gary?
Hey, Al, I needed a job. You know, what can I tell you?
Wherever you can get that ring, you go get it.
That logo was changed a number of times between 1909 and 1915 when a man named George Kennedy, who owned the team, finally came up, as Al explained, with that Club de Hockey, with CH. And anyway, Al, I'll give you French lessons after the game. That habitant thing that you said before the game. We'll talk later, okay?
Off the boards, Loisel moving in. Keane's got it. Canadiens controlling in their own end. J.J. Daniel with 2:40 left to go here in the second. At center, Malakoff moved out. Daniel had it. Over to Damphousse. Damphousse sending it in, battling with Vasquez. Clears the zone to Delgarno to Loisel. Loisel, far side corner. Islanders have got to look to Thomas, Ray Ferraro, Benoit Hogue. Try and get them on the board, get back into this game. Down 3-0 in game 1. Damphousse with it. Damphousse centers. Almost set that up perfectly, but Leclaire could not draw for the shot. Damphousse again to Keane. Keane will back up to the point. Couldn't find anybody there. Damphousse. Damphousse, Leclaire the pick. Tried to drop it. Did. Shot. Save made. Keane got the shot. Vasquez around the boards. Canadiens changing up behind the play here. Comes back to Malakoff. Malakoff, the big flip out, nobody there. Patrick Roy will let that one go by, and Haller will touch it up. That will be an icing call on the Islanders. Harry? AT&T Intermission Report coming up in just a minute and 47 seconds. A look back at the tradition that is the Montreal Canadiens and what's going on in the National Hockey League Final Four after the victory last night by Toronto over St. Louis. Our AT&T Intermission Report coming up next.
Patrice Brise was in a lot of pain. He was waiting for a shot and just got leveled from behind. I thought Terry Gregson would call an interference on the play, but perhaps he didn't see it. Pretty tough job when you're down on that horizontal plane and all those bodies are flying around in front of you. My brother's an official here in the Montreal Junior Leagues, and we talked about it last night. And obviously, I know how hard it was to see everything as a player, but I didn't have to see everything as a player. I just had to see where the play was most of the time. Officials have to try to see everything, and it is not an easy job.
Junker's got it knocked down by Muller from behind. One of the reasons why they continue to talk about going to two referees, two-man system, which is used in college hockey in the United States, on and off again. Junker had it, lost it. Brunet at center. Great battle. Brunet and Muller. Muller able to control it. And it's sent in by Desjardins. Far side, Brunet. Brunet took the hit, has the puck, still had it. Muller. Muller crisscrossing where the Canadiens are flying. Shot deflected. Bellows rebound. Couldn't control. Uwe Krupp brings it out. 3-on-2 chance for the Islanders. Canadiens get back. David Bollock off for Krupp. Krupp off-hand side. Bollock shot wide. Deflected. Did not go in on Patrick Waugh. 1 minute to go in the period. Holler in the corner. Can't get it out of there. Desjardins covering up in front of the net. Gets it out of the zone.
You know what the New York Islanders could use is a huge Darius Kasparaitis hit or a Rich Pilon hit, something to get them going. They don't appear to be in the game physically. That's a sure sign that you're not into it mentally because the body follows the mind. So you know that Al Arbour between periods would be saying, listen, guys, at least start to take the body out there because that's one of our trademarks. We are playing against a smaller, quicker team. And as I mentioned at the start of our show, Gary, size isn't an advantage unless you use it. It becomes a disadvantage if you don't use it against a smaller, quicker team.
Montreal's been able to avoid that thus far in the playoffs this season. The Quebec team, they tried to play the body games 1 and 2, and then it didn't work very well for them. And in the last series, they outskated Buffalo. Buffalo couldn't get the body there.
It's hard because of their mobility, but still when you get them into the trenches, you can really take them into the boards, and that's where a guy like Kasparaitis and Big Malakoff and Uwe Krupp and Richie Pilon can do their thing. I was talking to Serge Savard yesterday, Montreal's general manager. He said, you know what, Quebec tried to goon us a couple of games. I said, well, I was amazed. I mean, Quebec has a finesse team, and he said they had a more talented team than we did, and they played away from their strength and to their weakness.
Canadiens took full advantage of that, coming back from an 0-2 deficit against them, and as we said, they have not lost since the first 2 losses there, winning 8 in a row in the playoffs. Leclerc puts the hit on Pilon. Kasparaitis back to get it. Thomas on the near side, down to 23 seconds to go here in the period. Battle goes on behind the net, hacking away. Pilon and Leclerc, both of them refusing to give an inch on that one. Shot back in. Decisions got it in. It's going to be played up by nobody. Carbonneau knocks it down. He can't get it out. Shot deflected wide again off Ronan. Healy behind the net. Just trying to cover it up. Nobody near him there. He'll finally get the whistle, but right at the buzzer.
Well, the Canadiens are on top of their game, but nothing new for the New York Islanders. Twice in the series against Washington, they were down 3-1 in games. No problem. Came back and won them both.
They'll try and do that here at the Forum as they head in after 2 here in Montreal. The Canadiens have taken a 3-0 lead with Dion, Leclerc, and Brunet picking up the goals for Montreal. And we'll be back with the AT&T Intermission Report. John Saunders after this from our ABC.
Montreal Canadiens leading 3-0. Well, you've heard about Yankee tradition. With the Raiders, it's just win, baby. Well, roll the two together, throw in a lot more, and you find out exactly what it's like to be a member of the Montreal Canadiens. For 67 years, no building has captured the flavor, tradition, and success of its own sport as has the Montreal Forum. It's home to the most successful franchise in the history of professional athletics, in a city which gave birth to the NHL in 1917 under the guidance of first President Frank Calder. And from its earliest days, it was the Canadiens that would survive to become the symbol of hockey excellence. Their lineup has always been laced with stars, men like George Vezina, one of hockey's first star netminders. Howie Morenz, a scoring star referred to as the Babe Ruth of hockey in the 20s and 30s. In the 40s, Maurice Rocket Richard would dazzle Forum crowds as the NHL's preeminent scorer up to that time. During his 18-year career, the Canadiens' dominance brought 8 Stanley Cups to the Forum. With Richard's era, another legend was born in Jean Beliveau. The elegant center was a 10-time champion and first recipient of the Conn Smythe Trophy as playoff MVP in '65. The linchpin during this era of Canadian supremacy was Coach Toe Blake, a 3-time Cup winner as a player. Blake also added 8 titles to his collection as a coach. In the early 70s, rookie Ken Dryden opened a new era of Montreal dominance as Jean Beliveau passed the torch with his last Cup win in '71. The following season marked the start of Scotty Bowman's era as coach. In 8 seasons, Bowman molded one of the most powerful teams ever, bringing back 5 Stanley Cups. Guy Lafleur continued the superstar tradition as cornerstone of a squad which won 4 straight titles between '76 and '79. But it was Bowman's stern hand which guided the Habs through that era of excellence. 1986 marked the last title, but a continued commitment to uphold the winning tradition lives on.
What I like about Montreal is there's a lot of old-timers, Henri Richard, Maurice Richard, Dickie Moore, Pierre Bouchard, and all those guys that live in Montreal. So when the playoff comes, they're always around, they talk to you, and they tell you the stories when they were in the playoff, and it's really fun for the players to hear those things.
You walk into the dressing room and you see all the Hall of Famers up on the wall and everything. The tradition hits you right away, and I know that the first time I put the sweater on and jumped out and played for the Canadiens my first game, there's a sense of pride and excitement to be a part of a team that has so much history and success behind it.
It's like a religion. Montreal Canadiens have been around for so long. They've been successful for so many years. I think they're one of the most recognized franchise in any sport, and to put that jersey on, I think, is a big thing for any player in the league coming in Montreal.
If you want to talk about intensity, go back to the 1950s, where Clarence Campbell, the president of the league, suspended Maurice Richard. The entire city rioted. St. Catherine Street was torn apart. And as a Toronto Maple Leaf fan who grew up here in Montreal, I can tell you I have the bruises to prove this rivalry can be very intense. Any team Montreal faces is a rivalry that they want to win. We'll be back with more of the AT&T Intermission Report in just a moment. To Montreal, where the Canadiens have a 3-0 lead over the surprise New York Islanders. Intermission Report. I'm John Saunders here at the Montreal Forum, where it's 3-0 the hometown Canadiens over the New York Islanders. Back to the third period in just a moment, but first let's get you updated on one other playoff action going underway. That in the National Basketball Association, where the New York Knicks are trying to rebound from a double overtime loss to the Charlotte Hornets. Looks like they're up by 10 right now, 74-64. Patrick Ewing has 24 points. The Knicks leading that series 2-1. The last 2 games have gone to overtime. Here at the Montreal Forum, as I mentioned, 3-0. The Canadiens looking to take a 1-0 lead here in the first game of the Wales Conference Final. Let's join Al Morganti now down by the Islanders locker room.
Well, John, at the end of this period, the Islanders came through this runway and looked like a team that maybe lost a little bit of its grip on that magic carpet. As Al Arbour, the coach, came off, the crowd was taunting him with chants of, "It's all over, Al, it's all over." His team was in the locker room. He heard a commotion in there. He turned from the coach's room to go in the locker room, try to calm him down, tell him maybe it's not all over. Head to the coach's room, back to the locker room, try to calm him down, let him know that even if things haven't gone their way for 2 periods, they can still do it. Try not to lose that grip on the magic carpet. So while the Canadiens try to make them think it's all over, the Islanders have other ideas. John?
And now you have to figure with the New York Islanders and that big win over the Pittsburgh Penguins, they had to be at least a little bit emotionally drained. Not surprising, really, they've come out flat here in the first 2 periods. But there's still one more period to go here at the Forum. Can the Islanders come back from down 3-0? We'll find out in just a moment. Gary and Bill return with the third period.
It can be snowing, but the stars will come out tonight, and they will shine.
Pittsburgh
Pittsburgh sports. Goose has been covering the Pittsburgh sports scene for over 15 years. And now, Pittsburgh's own Goose Goslin and Tom McMillan are part of the colorful sports coverage.
Goose Goslin. I have to dig in a little bit and stop people from getting to the net because Montreal scored 2 goals in the second period on deflections, and the key to that was allowing the Montreal guys to get to the net. I mean, the Islanders' defense have to dig in. First play was a terrific one. Carbonneau with the dump over to the far side to Eric Desjardins, and I'm still impressed with how he took a look and kept looking while he was trying for John Leclerc. So the pride of the University of Vermont tipped it in, and at that point the Canadiens led 2-0. Same kind of deal a little later in the period on a face-off. Montreal won it cleanly, and I talked about their puck movement. Went back to the point. Desjardins to Haller. Haller just one-touched it. Didn't even stop it. Over to Brian Bellows, and his shot deflected again off of Benoit Brunet, and that made it 3-0. Glenn Healy appeared to be focusing pretty well on the play and had a look at it. You see that he doesn't appear to be really screened. I thought he was originally, but he had a look at it. But what he saw he didn't like because Brunet was able to deflect it right by him. So Healy was handcuffed. I mean, you can't fault Glenn Healy.
And our Miller Genuine Draft scoring summary. Dion getting his 5th of the playoffs at 10-18. Savard and Haller picking up the assists on it. 1-0 after 1. Then it was Leclerc at 3:41 his first. Desjardins and Carbonneau. Guy Carbonneau making it 2-0. And Benoit Brunet on the tip. Power play goal 14:45. Bellows and Haller. And the Montreal Canadiens with a 3-0 lead. And Glenn Healy is coming out of net for the New York Islanders. And we will get the goaltending change as Mark Fitzpatrick is now in for the Islanders. So Healy out to start the 3rd period with the Canadiens up 3-0. You see the playoff mark for Mark Fitzgerald. That's in his career. Al Arbour deciding, number 1, he probably wants to give Healy a break here. Number 2, get Fitzpatrick in to give him some playoff time and see what he's got.
And number 3, and perhaps more importantly, shake this thing up a little bit. I mean, Al Arbour had to go in and probably rattle the door a little bit and rattle the stalls of his players because they haven't been able to get to that same emotional pitch, which I felt all along was going to be their challenge for this hockey game. Get to the same emotional frenzied level that they were in for just about every game against the Pittsburgh Penguins. We'll see what they got here.
Underway in the 3rd period with the Canadiens up 3-0. It'll be brought up ice by Fitzgerald to Delgarno. Junker's out on the line with him. They are offside. And we're underway here in the 3rd. Let's check in with Al.
Well, Gary and Bill, between periods, Al Arbour did speak with his team. I talked to him just after that. I asked him if there are any technical changes. You know, they've had a lot of injuries, and sarcastically he said, yeah, I need about 6 players. Gary, Bill?
Yeah, that is a legitimate point, not an excuse. I mean, they've had a lot of people who they have lost. Patrick Flatley still out, Bergeron still out, Travis Green out.
And Scott Lachance never even got a chance to start. Scott Lachance off the Olympic team was terrific down the stretch. Marty McGuinness. So the Islanders now without their captain in Pat Flatley, without their top offensive player, 132-point man, Pierre Turgeon. As you mentioned, the list is pretty long. Montreal Canadiens healthy, just like the Pittsburgh Penguins were for most of their series.
And coming in with that weak rest. Cleared out of the zone. Desjardins. Bellows comes back to get it. Bellows, Brunet, and Muller on the line. Intercepted Benoit Hogue. Hogue tried to leave it for Thomas. A whistle. Another delayed offside call on the New York Islanders.
This means a lot to Benoit Hogue. To any Canadian player to come back, and a Canadian-born player to come back, it's special to play in the Forum. But when you were born and raised in Montreal and you are French-speaking, kind of a double spotlight. When players come back here, most of them have grown up dreaming of playing for the Montreal Canadiens. They have to come back here and compete against Montreal, and that's easily accomplished. And the Montreal Forum means even more to the players who are from Montreal.
Face-off. Muller's got it. Kirk Muller gets it out of the zone. Played near side by Brunet. Brunet dumps it in deep. Fitzpatrick goes back to get it. Mark Fitzpatrick during the regular season appeared in 39 games with 17, 15, and 5. Had a 3.46 goals against and an 8.78 save percentage. Mark Fitzpatrick in for Glenn Healy here in the 3rd period for the Islanders. Pilon around the boards. Kasparaitis out. Islanders need to jump on it early here in the 3rd and cut this lead down. Haller Held in at the point, no. Curvers dumped it in. It's a delayed offside call. They clear the zone, so that'll avoid any whistle. Brunet, without the helmet, comes to the red line. Montreal wants to change it up. Back to get it, Fitzpatrick. Poked away, but Curvers has been in control. Had Coop there to help out. Uwe Krupp's got it. Krupp drops it off. Curvers pass. They got to come back. Canadiens keep that relentless pressure on here, forcing the passes. Thomas up for Hogue. Gets by Ronan. Benoit Hogue into the zone. J.J. Daniel right in front of him. Hogue looking to the slot. Tipped in. Save by Waugh. Tommy Curvers cutting in. Made a great tip. And Patrick Waugh focused on that one. Thomas, his shot was blocked out deep by Brisebois. Leclaire for the Canadiens. Leclaire's shot, save made. Fitzpatrick faces one. First time shot he's had. Uwe Krupp starts the other way by Carbonneau. Off the near side boards. Leclaire trying to get it in. Krupp blocked it. Second chance he does. Ferraro goes back to get it. 2.5 minutes into the third period. Ray Ferraro. Ferraro has been pinned up by Montreal here in this game, not getting scoring chances. Vincent Damphousse. Damphousse drops it. Laveau's got it. Laveau leaves it for Keane. Keane coming with Damphousse. Damphousse wanted the wrister. Passes it up. Laveau lets it go a little deeper into the corner. Ray Ferraro all over him. Damphousse out in front. King there to get it. Derek King starts it up. Canadiens already have 3 back on defense. Patrick Waugh will leave it. Pollock coming to get it. That will avoid the icing call. Pollock shot Baskey way wide on the short side. Baskey again will get this at the far side point. Again, the dump around this time. Matthew Schneider is there. Schneider up for Damphousse. And the Canadiens turn it up ice. Laveau sends it in. Islanders want to change. Baskey back. Not a lot of whistles, and that's the Canadiens' advantage.
A little more light for the Islanders, though. Seem to have a little more legs, a little more drive.
Sissions got it into the zone. Matthew Schneider back to get it. Lakota, Sissions, and Loisel now for the New York Islanders. Dion gets nailed by Elon against the boards. He is all right. Head first that time. Claude Loisel. Loisel the move. Couldn't get it out. Dion held it in. Lost it. Kasparaitis collides with Loisel. He gets the puck. Loisel tried to dump it into the zone. Couldn't. Canadiens just seem right spot, right time. That's the way they're playing this game right now. Elon at center lost it. And offside, DiPietro getting the whistle with 16:04 to go in the third. Canadiens up 3-0. The New York Islanders, and they battle back against the Capitals. Deficits in the third period. Took those games into overtime and won them both.
Ray Ferraro wearing the A. A big part of that series against the Washington Caps was the hero in at least 2 of those games. In one of the games when they lost 6-4, he got all 4 goals.
And the overtime goals were both his. Fitzgerald and Brunet on the face-off. 16 minutes to go here in the third. Uwe Krupp goes back to get it. Curvers back for Krupp. 1 forechecker being sent in now by the Canadiens. Kirk Muller happens to be the one, the center on this line. Fitzgerald from behind the net. Muller moves over on him. Near side to Curvers again. Veteran defenseman off the blocker of Patrick Waugh. Brad Delgarno. His centering pass blocked right straight up in the air to the corner. And a whistle coming up because that one was a glove pass, Randy Minton says, and that'll bring the face-off out of the zone.
You know, we have talked, Gary, about Montreal sitting back, watching the New York Islanders knock off the Pittsburgh Penguins, and the Montreal Canadiens remembering back to 1986 when they won a Stanley Cup, because Calgary in the division final did the same thing to Edmonton, finished with the best record that year, as the Islanders did to Pittsburgh. And I was looking at numbers today. That year, the Oilers finished with the same number of points as the Penguins did this year, 119. Another similarity is that year Montreal had 87 points and won the Stanley Cup. The team this year that is in the Final Four that finished with 87 points, not Montreal, it's the New York Islanders.
Claude Loisel was batted in the air. Sissions goes back to get it. Matthew Schneider wasn't sure where it went after it hit his stick. Sissions in the corner for it, gets tied up, lost it. Schneider will take it back behind the net. Schneider's playing the regular shifts. First game back since the injury in game 1 of the playoffs in the first round against Quebec. He's looked strong. Save made by Fitzpatrick as he kicked it out deep. Lakota's got it. Lakota drops it for Sissions. Sissions sends it into the corner. Facing it down, Baskey. Baskey couldn't control it. Schneider, again the hard out as the Canadiens trying to avoid any offensive chance for the New York Islanders and making quick changes here. Taken behind the net. Every other day, teams play here as we're in the Final Four. So they will have a day off and then go at it again at the Forum. 2 games here, then they move on to the island for 2. ESPN will be covering those. Part of the coverage here, of course, on ABC this season. LeClaire in. Shot blocked. Pilon had it. Lost it. Kaibodo shot hit the side of the net. Fitzpatrick kind of picked the net up that time. Instead of blocking the shot, he used the whole net to block the puck because it was coming in on the side of the net. Mullen lost it. Kaibodo with LeClaire cutting. Shot right by the right ear of Mark Fitzpatrick. J.J. Daniel held it in. Pilon over to get it. Benoit Hogue touched it along the blue line. Kasparaitis comes with Thomas and Hogue. Kasparaitis offside was Hogue on the left. Shutout being put up on the board right now by Patrick Roy. That's nothing new for the Montreal Canadiens, and in their history it's not. Great goaltending. There's been a lot of it right here in the uniform of the Montreal Canadiens. You see the Stanley Cups that have been won and who has been in net for them. The Vezina Trophy was named after George Vezina, last on the list there, who played with the Montreal Canadiens, and over the number of years it's been awarded, 65, the Canadiens have won 32 of the 65 Vezina trophies. They named it after the right guy, didn't they?
Sure did. Patrick Roy has 3 himself. And the Conn Smythe Trophy for MVP in the playoffs. He won the Stanley Cup in his rookie year in 1986.
Magnificent numbers for guys in net, and they have always been known as great defensive teams starting from the net out.
So I think that was always one of the underrated aspects of the Montreal Canadiens. Remember their terrific teams in the 70s with Yvan Cournoyer, Guy Lafleur, Jacques Lemaire, and they were looked upon as the Flying Frenchmen. Great offense. They were so terrific. Serge Savard, who played here for so many years, and I consider one of the top defensemen ever to play, never made an all-star team because it was always Guy Lapointe or Jacques Laperriere or Larry Robinson ahead of him. 1 year in the late 70s, the Montreal Canadiens lost only 8 games out of 8. They won 60. They lost 8.
Now
they
that's
tied 12.
You can't even imagine. You can't even imagine that. They've had people like Gump Worsley, Rogaton Vachon, who are here in the mid-60s, late 60s, who also have performed exceedingly well in net for them and shared some awards in goal. And we didn't even have room for Bill Dernan's name, who back early on for the Canadiens won 6 Vezinas himself. Cleared out of the zone. Haller's got it. Haller sends it in wide. Fitzpatrick plays it at the side, leaves it for Malakoff. 13-16 left here in the third. Game 1 of the best-of-7 semifinal round. One of these 2 teams goes on to the Stanley Cup Finals to take on the winner of the Los Angeles-Toronto series. Fitzpatrick behind the net. 13 left here in the third. Vaski up ice for Brad Delgarno. Blocked by Savard. Savard sending it in.
You know, Gary, coming back here into this building to play against the Canadiens all through the 70s, can't imagine how intimidating it was to watch them even in their morning skate, the morning practice. They were so fast, shot so hard, and seemed to be so up for the game that there were coaches that didn't allow their teams, their players, to stand around and watch them skate even in the morning.
Because you feel so bad about it.
But it was intimidating.
Yeah.
It really was.
It still is. Schneider drops it off. DiPietro overskated. Gilbert Dion thought he'd try it, but he was already offside. If he can get away with it, why not? Canadiens 3, New York 0. Coming at center, the Canadiens fans have the wave going here. Glenn Healy pulled out here in the third period at the start of it. Mark Fitzpatrick in net now for the New York Islanders with 12:26 left here in the third.
Gary, we talked about Glenn Healy really having a smile on his face just about all the time. There is one thing that will wipe the smile off the goalie's face, and that is getting pulled.
Shot in front, covered by Fitzpatrick. Almost for DiPietro. John Saunders.
Gary, here's the Dodge Stanley Cup update. Ray Ferraro, what a playoff he's been having. Best of his career right now in the playoffs at least. Leads him in scoring along with Dave Andreychuk with 12 goals. And he, of course, has led the New York Islanders to where they are now. Gretzky leads playoff scoring with 23 points. Andreychuk and Ferraro, 12 apiece. The Canadiens have won 8 straight, looking to make it 9 straight. Right now, let's go all the way back to Gary and Bill.
Great to have John with us here. Usually we only get to talk to him in the studio. He's somewhere here in the forum right now joining us for our broadcast of Game 1. And while we have a chance, we should also mention, delighted to be part of the return of the National Hockey League to network coverage here on ABC. Bill and I and Doug and Bruce and all of our crew, and Mark Wenzel, our executive producer. been a great time. We have enjoyed it, and there'll be lots of games upcoming on ESPN. In fact, all of them, as we go down through the Stanley Cup Finals. ABC's coverage is going to delight to be involved with. Uwe Krupp had it knocked away. It'll be brought back in by Dion. Back in the middle, Savard, and the save was made by Fitzpatrick. Great play, Fitzpatrick. Back to the point. Deflected in front by Dion. It's sitting. Loisel just puts it in the seats to get rid of it. As the Canadiens continue to put the heat on offensively here, out shooting the Islanders 25-14.
You bet. It started with a turnover just outside the blue line. This is usually an Islanders trait, standing up and banging people as they approach the blue line, but with the Islanders trying to get out of their own blue line, they got stood up. Denny Savard, he's not going to mellow. He's 32 years old, and he was just as feisty when he was a 19-year-old in Chicago. Paul DiPietro with a big hit on 235-pound Uwe Krupp. Sprung it loose. Dion then dropped it back to DiPietro, over to Savard. That shot was hitting the side of the net anyway. And you can see the Islanders. Look at 3 Islanders looking over to that side. So the Islanders aren't sharp on their coverage even yet. No, that looked like it was headed for the post, at least. I'm not sure if Mark Fitzpatrick got a piece of it. Denny Savard finally got back to Montreal a couple of years ago when Chris Chelios was sent to the Chicago Blackhawks in his draft year, which was 1979. The Montreal Canadiens chose a guy from Western Canada named Doug Wickenheiser. Denny Savard actually went number 3 to Chicago after Dave Babbage had gone to Winnipeg, and there were a lot of people in Montreal that never forgave the management for not drafting Denny Savard that year #1 overall when they had the chance.
They love having him here right now, and you can see why. Matching minors have been picked up here by Savard and Loisel at the 8:13 mark as they go for roughing for the incident taking place in the corner. 4-on-4. Brian Bellows has it. Bellows back. Haller in. Lot of room. Shot save. Fitzpatrick right on him. I'm not sure that he saw that. The shot came through some folks, but didn't hit anybody and ended up coming right off the chest. Benoit Hogue brings it up ice. Islanders in. Hogue looking for help behind. Couldn't find anybody. Haller put him into the corner. Hogue in the middle with the defenseman joining Baskey. Malakoff's got it. Islanders now will send their D in. Malakoff waiting. Thomas trying to get set up in front. Centering pass right through the crease. Patrick Waugh just lets it go. Played by Thomas to Hogue. Shot saved by Waugh. Kicked it out with the right pad. Kasparaitis battles along the boards with Bellows. And with 11 minutes left to go in the third period, now the gloves have dropped. Kasparaitis wants to go with Bellows. Bellows just looking at him like, do you mind?
Kasparaitis had the right hand shaking too, just like the tough guys in the movies. Come on, yeah, I'm going to hit you.
Bellows kind of backed off like, what?
Don't expect any fights, folks. Through 2 rounds of the playoffs this year, there have been 6 fights. That is it. Here's how it started. Bellows with Kasparaitis along the boards. Looked like a clean takeout, but then Bellows followed through with looked like the right hand up under the chin of Darius Kasparaitis, and then a right to the side of the head. Look at Kasparaitis now. I'm ready. 6 fights through 2 rounds this year. Last year, 15 fights through 2 rounds of the playoffs. And 2 years ago, 41 fights. So we've gone from 41 to 15 to 6. Yes, fighting is on the way out.
It has been dropped. The game is sped up. And remember, it's also holding true during the regular season. Yeah, pretty good pairing.
Yeah. Patrick Waugh's best save. And you know what? It was a save, I think, that he didn't even make, really, because Benoit Hogue's shot hit him. Rogers had a chance to turn and react and try to stay in front of it.
Patrick Waugh now, a question here with 11 minutes to go. Can he pick up a shutout? He has 20 regular season game shutouts and 5 playoff shutouts. And he's certainly got a shot at one here. Danfus brings it in with Keane. There's still 4-on-4 here. A couple more matching minors picked up. Bellows and Kasparaitis. They too are gone for roughing. Danfus and Volek. Brisebois trying to hold it in, couldn't. Volek brings it out. Volek, Daigneault in front of him. Right through Daigneault's legs to the corner. Daigneault and Volek with the sticks wrapped up around each other. Brisebois was moving in, pushed out of the play by Ray Ferraro, and the puck came right to him. Brisebois got it up, and back they come Danfus. Danfus on the crisscross with Keane. Danfus to Keane, sets the pick. He had Danfus all alone, but couldn't get it through Malakoff and Krupp. Ray Ferraro for the New York Islanders. 28 seconds remaining on the first set of matching minors. Ferraro brings it in. Islanders were changing behind the play, so he had to dump it in. Brisebois towards Daniel. Daniel trying to clear. It comes out of the zone as DiPietro got a stick on it. Islanders get back onside. Stolen though. DiPietro dumped again. That's twice he's been knocked down, and 3 times he's come away with a puck. So he wins. Far side Thomas, and he goes down again. Thomas, blue line shot saved by Waugh. Brisebois behind the net. Canadiens need a change here if they can get it up ice. Trying to break Savard. He come out of the penalty box. That forces Fitzpatrick out to get it. Here's DiPietro. Back to Savard. Savard's got Dion in front of the net. Sees him centered. Shot tipped by Dion into the corner. Kervers has it. Kervers takes the heat off by getting it out of the zone. This will be an icing call on the touch-up. Stopping the clock at 9:25, and the Canadiens up. Dion getting his 5th of the playoffs this season. Leclaire picking up his 1st, and Bellows his 3rd that came on the power play. And for Patrick Waugh, you see his last playoff shutout. He's trying to add to it. It would be his 6th if he can get it. That was the 2-0 shutout against Hartford that occurred in April of '92. That side, he's a storyline here at the Forum.
Mark Fitzpatrick didn't have much of a chance to warm up. No warm-up when the change is made between periods. So Glenn Healy was pulled and Fitzpatrick went in. It's even tougher because he's so big. Little guys seem to be a little more limber, even coming off the bench. For a skater, it's tough for the big guys to come off the bench at 6'2" and 195. That is big by goaltending standards.
Mark Fitzpatrick in for Healy here this season. Fitzpatrick's 3rd game that he has appeared in as an 0-1 record. That one's deflected into the seat, stopping the clock at 9:12 remaining to go. The Canadiens have put on a show here. We mentioned the fact that they were scrimmaging yesterday afternoon. It worked.
Oh, you bet it worked. You know, Jacques Demers had quite a scare in the month of March. He started to have chest pains and ended up in the hospital for a couple of days. It turned out it wasn't a heart attack, but you can imagine his fear. He is 48 years old, and he was with his dad when his dad was 49 years old, when his dad died of a heart attack. So with the history of heart problems, and I'm sure that memory in Jacques' mind from when he was a young boy with his dad, he put himself in the hospital right away. But fortunately for Jacques and the organization, everything was fine.
And coaching the Canadiens can lead to those sorts of things as well. It is not one of the easiest jobs. Even when winning, things can be pressurized.
I can't imagine what kind of reporter would have asked him 5 games into the season after winning 1, losing 1, and tying 3 if he thought his job was on the line. Jacques Demers said, I knew then I was in for the biggest test of my life here.
He was right. Delgarno's pass intercepted. Danfus. Vincent Danfus drops it full of ball, and a whistle on the offside call. ABC's coverage of the Stanley Cup playoffs will continue 3-0 Montreal.
Now Subway
27 games, losing only 13 and tying 2, and while they averaged offensively 3.88 a game, they were over 4 goals a game here at home. There's no question the Forum this past season and for much of its history has always been an advantage. El Morganti.
Gary and Bill, one of the reasons the Islanders are struggling is that Pierre Turgeon is out of the lineup, obviously. I spoke with his physical therapist, and they are very hopeful, very optimistic that he'll be back in the lineup Tuesday night for Game 2 of this series. Gary, Bill?
Well, they could use him.
There he was.
You bet.
Sitting watching and wanting.
Another hometown kid that plays for a team other than the Montreal Canadiens. They can't draft all of the French Canadians. They only get 1 pick around unless they got extra picks.
Can't get them all. Tommy Kerber centering pass taken away. Leclaire, watch for the Canadiens to get some breakouts here now with the Islanders sending the defense in. Back, Leclaire, centered, blocked. Fitzpatrick got a stick on it. That ended up being a 3-on-2 break. Then Waugh clears it out of the zone. Thomas giving chase at the other end. Thomas gets tied up by Brisebois. Held him up long enough to free the puck up. Back they come. Ronan. Ronan drops it for Leclaire. John Leclaire shot. Score! Oh, baby, pick a corner.
You see, that puck doesn't feel like a hand grenade anymore at all, does it? That's what John Leclaire said the puck felt like coming into this game because he hadn't scored a playoff goal. Well, here comes number 2. What a wrister. He just ripped this by Mark Fitzpatrick before Fitzpatrick could move. And, you know, John Leclaire brought up a good point as you look at this goal from behind the net. He said, anyway, I'm on a checking line, and that is the truth. With Ed Ronan on the right side and Guy Carbonneau at center, these guys are looked to as stoppers out there, and they are playing against the Hogue-Thomas line, which is supposed to be the top offensive line for the New York Islanders. In spite of that, the checking line has come through with 2 goals, and the Canadiens lead 4-0.
John LeClair, out of the University of Vermont, has 2 goals in this game. The fans rocking the Forum. Brunet back to center. Haller. Now the question, the big one is for Patrick Waugh. Can he and the Canadiens put a shutout on the board here in game 1? 7:29 left to go in the third. Haller clears it around. A delayed offside call. The announcement on LeClair's goal for what you all know is a quiet, sedate crowd here in Montreal. Benoit Brunet over the red line and in. Brunet the move! Brunet save! What a great chance! Brunet, his own rebound. Bounced off the back of Muller's skates. Kurt Muller nailed by Pilon. Puck still loose behind the net. Reaching for it, Fitzpatrick through the net to hold it up behind it. He did. Tonight on ABC, a special night. 1 hour of America's funniest home videos will be followed by the network's newest news hour, Day 1. And then the revolution begins in your living room. It is the television event of the year, Oliver Stone's Wild Palms, all tonight on ABC.
Boy, the Canadiens have picked up the scent. What a move by Benoit Brunet. Rich Pilon didn't take the man or the puck. I mean, usually you take a piece of one of them. Brunet actually got a second whack at it out of midair and got his rebound a second time behind the net. The Canadiens are hungry, and they can smell this win. They've got 4, they want 5. That'll pretty well put the Islanders away.
6 minutes and 58 seconds to go. Number 4 came from LeClair at 12:06. Ronan and Daniel picking up the assists on it. They changed the third goal, by the way, to Bellows instead of Brunet on the tip. Bellows got credit for that goal. Kasparaitis up and out of the zone, and that will be called as it ends up in the bench, and things heat up. Bakota and Odeline, these are 2 heavyweights being separated. Now Savard moved in.
And behind the play, Rich Pilon took down Gilbert Dion, and Dion with a huge roundhouse slash caught Pilon on the side of the leg and hurt him. Pilon shaking it off enough now to get in there and grab Dion again.
And Savard and Loisel started to go at it.
Oh, look at Pilon now. He wants to take off. Here we go. We're going to have a fight. No, we're not.
The linesmen move in. Oh, no. Pilon and Dion, and one of the linesmen was hanging on to Dion when Pilon wound up and hit him.
That's where you got to be real sure you got them both tied up, and Randy Mitten, one of the linesmen, did a great job of getting in there to Pilon to stop him before he could cold cock Gilbert Dion. That's Kasparaitis and Paul DiPietro. There's Loisel. He's paired up with Matt Schneider, number 27. And we have not seen a lot of this, have we? And you know what? One of the only times, or the few times that it happens, you can usually bet that the game has slipped away from one of the teams, and that the frustration of not being able to get anything going gets the better of them. And very often this is the situation that results. You'll never see this in a real tightly contested match, but this one's just about over. But they haven't had the fight knocked out of them yet. Mick Bakota with a cross-check on the back of Lyle Odeline. These are the 2 tough guys for the respective teams. But it spread after that. Bakota calmed down, so did Odeline. But Rich Pilon didn't. And neither did Gilbert Dion. Here's Pilon coming in at Dion. Now watch Pilon. He'll get a penalty if he fights with that visor on. So when Pilon decides to go, he says, all right, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to stand back. Here I go. I'm going to take my visor off. And Dion says, okay, I'm ready. Dion was the aggressor going to Pilon, but as soon as he was grabbed by Wayne Bonney, the linesman, Pilon came with a big roundhouse. It didn't land on anything. And for once, the catalyst was not Darius Kasparaitis.
sure he's unhappy about the fact he was away from the play and not able to join in on that. Then again, maybe the Faces had enough for one game here.
In Darius Kasparaitis' defense, he just doesn't go out there looking to fight. He gets emotionally worked up. He is that kind of player. Anybody that would punch his own goalie in the head after a loss, which he did playing for the Unified team, and bust his stick over the crossbar after losses. He hates to lose, and he's a terrific competitor. But you can see from this little melee that Darius Kasparaitis didn't go out there looking for trouble. When it's his battle, he'll fight, and that's it.
4-0 lead for the Canadiens, and the Stanley Cup Final Four, of course, have now been set, and Stanley Cup playoff coverage continues. Every semifinal game on ESPN starting tomorrow night, as it'll be Los Angeles and Toronto going at it, and boy, did they celebrate in Toronto last night. All night long, the streets were alive and dancing for a team that has struggled over the last decade and a half just to be in the playoffs. Now, what the Canadian country is smelling is Montreal and Toronto. Would they ever love to see that matchup? There you see Kirk Muller. They're waiting here as the calls are made. The extra 2 has been put up on the board against New York. But it looks as though the Canadiens are going to end up with a power play out of this. Muller was out there making sure, and they do. It'll be a 5-on-4 power play as the extra penalty was against the Islanders. Shot in by Mullen shorthanded on Patrick Roy. Power play for the Canadiens with 6 minutes and 28 seconds remaining to go. Islanders have seen some shorthanded spunk in this game. They've been able to direct some shots like this. Mullen deflected that time into the seats. So a minute 39 left on the power play. 6:17 left to go here in the third period, with Canadiens up by a score of 4-0 and continuing to dominate in shots, 28-17.
A lot of veterans in this series, especially on the Islanders. Brian Mullen. The Montreal Canadiens, though, have kids, especially on defense. Kevin Haller is one of them, 22 years of age. J.J. Daigneault is the oldest Canadiens defenseman in the lineup today at 27. They got 2 23-year-olds and 2 22-year-olds, and they play like veterans. I mean, this team, small, fine, but Serge Savard understands that the game is changing, and he's gone to a more mobile type of game, and these guys are young. This is going to be a good team for a lot of years here in Montreal.
The amazing thing is, with those names, they are veterans. They're guys who play second, third, and fourth years already. We're only 23, 24 years old at the oldest. Centered, Bellows, couldn't find it. Bumps in front of Fitzpatrick. Muller gets hauled down, but the puck was already covered up. Bellows right on the doorstep. Just couldn't find the puck. It was too close for him to get a shot off.
See the Islanders coverage still. 3 players on one. Just not mentally sharp, Gary. They have not been able to recover with 1 day off. And believe me, I understand that problem. I played in a series in the early 80s and won a 7th game in Philadelphia when I was playing for the Flames. We had 1 day to travel back to Calgary and prepare for the Minnesota North Stars in the semis. We lost the first game and ended up losing the series in 6 because we lost the home ice advantage. And it just was not enough time to come down off of an upset win in a Game 7 in an opposing team's building when you've really been the team that has done the upsetting. Not enough time to recover emotionally or physically, but most of it is emotional. As you get the head going, your legs and your body will follow.
Just have not been able to do that, and credit a good deal of that to the play of the Canadiens here. They came out flying in this game. The penalties we had, Pilon got 2 for roughing, 10 for the misconduct. Dakota got a 10-minute misconduct. Dion a 10-minute misconduct, and Odeline a 10-minute misconduct. So all of them gone for the game. And the extra 2 minutes went to Pilon on the roughing call. Fitzpatrick along the boards. Malakoff dug it out. Played by Brisebois at center. 36 seconds remaining on the power play chance. Power plays haven't had much to do in this game. We've had the 1 power play goal that's been picked up on the 5th chance the Canadiens had. That has been it. Dump to the far end. 20 seconds remaining on the advantage. 4-0. Montreal trying to continue their win streak at home here in the playoffs. It would be their 6th in a row. Brunet in. Brunet drops it. Shot! Missed. Matthew Schneider, played by Kasparaitis. If they win this game, they will have won the last 9 playoff games this season after losing the first 2 to Quebec. Kasparaitis clears it out, and that's it. Out of the penalty box comes King, who is serving the minor. Now back to even strength for the New York Islanders and full strength. 4:28 left here in the third. Brunet. Benoit Brunet leaves it at center for Ronan. Ronan off far side. Whistle coming up. Guy Carbonneau sends it in. It's the Islanders who are going to be penalized here. Carbonneau, Brunet, extra skater on the ice for Montreal, and there's the shouldn't they with the great tradition they've got. And it's continuing right now here in the semifinals. First game, Canadiens leading it by a score of 4-0 and only 4 minutes left to go. Patrick Waugh trying to pick the shutout up in this game. Fitzgerald clears it back in. Haller goes back. In the penalty box, New York shorthanded again. The 7th power play of the game for the Montreal Canadiens as Kasparaitis was taken out for the slashing call. Brought in by Kurt Muller. Baskey intercepts, and the Islanders are shorthanded yet again.
Wouldn't have been so bad for Darius Kasparaitis if he hadn't left the evidence in the neutral zone. He broke his stick right in two.
Danfus has it. The Islanders, the frustration a bit coming up in the final 5 minutes here of the third period. Bellows in the corner, hit by Coop. Decisions back to get it. Kurt Muller hit by Delgarno. Coop plays the loose puck and gets it out of the zone. 3:14 left here in the third. Patrick Waugh is way out of the net, and
he tried that long up ice pass that Brad Delgarno just about got, and you know what? Delgarno would have been able to score before Waugh got back in.
Waugh went back in a hurry. There's Delgarno with the puck again. Waugh makes the save, blocking it, making it look like no problem. Cleveland plays it to Matthew Snyder, rather, from behind the net. Snyder starts it up near side for Brisebois. 30 left on the power play, but Patrick couldn't get that one. Leclerc had it. Delgarno took it away. Poke check by Mike Keane, who came away with the puck, lost it. Malakoff sends it up. 20 seconds remaining on the power play chance. Ben's waiting to see if Patrick Waugh will get the goose egg in this one. Drop pass. Going to have to be played by Brisebois in his own end. Still 9 seconds on the power play. Matthew Snyder back to get it. Snyder to Brisebois in the middle of Keane. Keane, LeBeau, rushing near side Leclerc. Leclerc and LeBeau, Malakoff there with him. Keane comes over to help out. Taken away. Nice play by Malakoff off the skate and onto the stick. Power play's over. 1 for 7 on the power play for the Canadiens. Even strength with 2 minutes left to go in the third period. Holt fanned on it. Ran to center by Desjardins. Uwe Krupp comes back to get it. Krupp holding. Be the first shutout of this playoff season for the Canadiens if they can get it. Rao had it knocked away. Dennis Savard, Uwe Krupp couldn't get it. DiPietro lost it to King. King leaves it far side. 1:39 to go. Leclerc intercepts. Can't control. King's got it for the Islanders. Intercepted again. DiPietro off the board. Savard. Savard pinned up by Krupp. Still has the puck. Ray Ferraro pulls it away. 1:24 left to go in the game. King brings it up. King, the screen and the shot. And that's blocked by Desjardins. Bollock's got it. Bollock in the middle. Kasparaitis, he missed the net. Rebound, Kasparaitis, saved by Waugh. Ferraro scores! With 1:07 to go in the third, they break the ice with Ray Ferraro's goal.
First time the Canadiens have collapsed in front of Patrick Waugh. Darius Kasparaitis must have sore arms from shooting. He had 2 terrific chances to score the goal himself. Finally, with Patrick Waugh flat on his side, Ray Ferraro was able to do it. Bollock just laid it out there for Kasparaitis, who doesn't have a good shot, and he doesn't control it that well. That shouldn't have gotten up over the net. Then Kasparaitis with his own rebound that put Patrick Waugh down, but look, not much coverage by the Canadiens. People falling all over the place, and Ferraro able to score. You saw Gregson, the referee in the bottom left, throw his arm up. He was going to call a penalty against Montreal, and that gets waived on the play because the Islanders scored just when he was going to call the penalty.
So Ray Ferraro has the goal-scoring lead in the playoffs to himself once again, as that is his 13th this season, his 20th of his career, and puts New York on the board. 1 minute left to go in the third period. Claude Loisel. Patrick Waugh knocks it away. Cleared up the boards. Kasparaitis trying to hold it in, cannot. But the Canadiens still have the 4-1 lead. Offside delayed call here. Brisebois drops it back for Matthew Snyder. Patrick Waugh coming into this. Leclerc for the hat trick. Tied up Fitzpatrick and Malakoff. Penalty coming up. There's the whistle. And it'll be a power play for the Canadiens to finish this game with 32.9 remaining.
Why John Leclerc has had a strong hockey game. He really put the University of Vermont hockey program on the map because Leclerc was being winded dined by every major school in the country.
Next Sunday on ABC Sports, the world's best drivers face two very different challenges. First at 4, 3 Central and Pacific, continuing coverage of the Indianapolis 500 time trial. Then, from Darlington International Raceway, race 2 of the Driver's Ultimate Test. It is the International Race of Champions. It's all next Sunday on ABC Sports. Pole position right now, Arie Luyendyk, 223-plus miles an hour at Indy.
There's John LeClaire with his 2 goals.
30 seconds left to go. Point shot, Matthew Snyder in the corner. Krug trying to push it by Damphus can't. Damphus has had another very strong game. Snyder sends it in. 8 power plays for the Montreal Canadiens, who have scored 1 power play goal. Raised wild, blue line to Snyder. Snyder the shot, blocked by Fitzgerald, played by Benoit Hogue. And Hogue will just clear it out with 8 seconds left to go. The Canadiens have now won 9 consecutive playoff games this season. They are 6-0 at home. They win game 1 of the semifinals 4-1.
And with a tight, cohesive, disciplined effort from top to bottom, they deserve the win from the start of this hockey game. Patrick Roy was terrific when he had to be, but not that much work for this guy. He faced a lot more work against the Quebec Nordiques and the Buffalo Sabres. The only positive thing, I guess, from an Islanders standpoint, Gary, is that they open on the road. You can lose one on the road. They still have to play here Tuesday night. If they win that one, they have grabbed the home ice advantage back. So the only positive is they lost on the road and not at home.
Mel Arbor will be happy to give his team a rest, while the Canadiens, mighty happy they looked as strong and sharp as they did after being off for 7 days. Patrick Roy's 60th career playoff win, now the 5th most in National Hockey League history, as he moves ahead of Andy Moog, the next Jacques Plante, who has 71. We'll be back to the forum. Our final score here, the Montreal Canadiens win game 1 over the Islanders 4-1.
Is the Montreal Canadiens 4, the New York Islanders 1 in there are 2 goals. He's standing by with Al Morganti.
John, you had a real big game today. You win the first game of this series, but in Montreal, every win is accompanied by expectations. Do you feel like this city expects you to win this Stanley Cup now?
Well, there's a lot of tradition here in Montreal, and you know, it seems every year when we start the season, they expect nothing but the Stanley Cup. And you know, as it goes right now, with the 4 teams left, we're the favorites, so you know, there's a little bit more pressure on us.
The Islanders show up here today instead of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Are you shocked? I mean, honestly, that they're here?
A little surprised, not as shocked as you would think. New York did a great job. They played them tough, and you know, they just wanted it, and you know, it shows what desire and a lot of heart will do for a team, and you know, they deserve to be here, so we can't take them lightly at all.
All right, thank you. John?
All right, Al, thanks a lot. 4-1 is the final. The Montreal Canadiens with the victory. The coverage will continue on ESPN. It starts tomorrow and goes all the way through the Stanley Cup final. So keep tuning in. The Stanley Cup playoffs are on ESPN for all of us here at ABC. That's done. This was our final ABC game. We hope you've enjoyed it. Good night from Montreal.
Coming up next on ABC Sports, over $1 million is at stake on the links in Dallas. The PGA's best tee-off in the final round of the GTE Byron Nelson Classic live. This has been a presentation of ABC Sports, recognized around the world as the leader in sports television.